Microphone check. 1 2 1 2. All right. Got to get your equipment right. So welcome. Welcome. Oh, no. There we go. Good evening. Yeah. Organic coffee. Oh, yeah. El Jefe. All right. Let's go, bro. How you been, man? How you been, my brother? Can almost hear you typing. Hey, that's what I love to hear, my man. All right. Yeah, I got a little bit of a neck thing going on here. Been going to the gym. Getting a pump. That's what we call it here. Pump. Getting my pump on. Yeah, man. It's been a doozy over here, guys. Let me tell you. You know, I've been sharing about my childhood trauma pretty openly on here. And part of my healing includes a childhood sexual abuse trauma. And last summer, I came across the guy at the Norwegian version of the Dallas store. Buying some Matchbox cars for my kid and some stuff, and I was walking with my boy on my arm. And all of a sudden there this guy was, and he's in custody. He's in well, he's mentally challenged. So he is in a caretake facility, low risk. um, and he was obviously there with one of his caretakers, and he just looked at me funny, like you could tell that he had no clue who I was, but he could probably recognize my eyes, right? Or, you know, and I had every feeling emotion, sensation in the world running through my body, coming face to face with this guy. Anger, rage, sadness, um, shock, trigger, fight, flight, and freeze. And I just kind of kept walking a little bit before I stopped in my tracks with my boy on my arm. One of my boys. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna be with all of these sensations that are flooding my system right now. And so I breathe like that. And I'm just being with it, noticing. And this was right before I went back to school for the second year of GESTALT coaching studies. And, that would be a perfect arena to address or share this situation because I had been sharing a little bit about it before. But for some reason, I didn't. There was this girl in my class who had, you know, um, well, I'm tied by a confidentiality clause, but it made me not want to share mine. That's about all I can say. And then, almost a year goes by. And I'm on my way to the gym. And then all of a sudden, I see this mentally challenged person that molested me riding his tricycle with his security personnel, like probably 10-minute drive from where I live. And it turns out this is the facility that they've chosen to put my abuser. And so I'm like, okay, well, it's coming up again. It's the Jeffs, man. I love you guys. And so I just felt like, okay, well, it's time for me to really, really. I've been working on this trauma for, well, since I was 28 and decided to get sober, for the first time around. And I've done inner child work. I've done, you name it, I've done it. And I just figured I gotta go to that shed that he took me when I was a kid. Shed full of porn magazines, the sweaty kind, the sweaty porn magazines. Sticky, smelly, stinky, hundreds of them laying around in that shed. And a couple like old 1970s kitchen chairs type of deal. I remember walking there, the skinny, um, the skinny birch trees and the sand dunes of a quarry. And then this Michael Jackson thing came out about the childhood sexual abuse, the pedophilia, call it what it is, that he was doing. And the way that he was grooming these boys were exactly the way that I was groomed from 9, 10, 11. And so I decided to share at my school on my final day because it was just time. It came up again, and I thought, okay, well, I can't really escape it. It's all in my system, all in my body, being activated at school. Something activated it, a trigger. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna share it at least so I get it out of my body, out of my system. And then, my classmates could know a little bit more about what it is that I'm going through. And there was, a value in sharing it. So, all right. So I shared, and, I got a little bit deeper into how much it still affects me to this day in terms of, just my joie de vivre, my joy of life. Um, and I have it pretty good. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for a second chance at life. Grateful to be sober. I'm grateful for my family, my kids, and all that. But ever so often, I wake up in this absolute funk that I have to shake off, and kind of spend anything from 15 minutes to an hour just to clear my energies and clear what's in my system. And it's just a pattern. That's the thing. It's a pattern of waking up in a funk. It's a pattern of funkifying myself with my past traumas and forgetting just how fucking awesome life is and can be. And all the blessings that we can create, and connections and friendships and beauty and all that stuff, you know? And so I put it down. I didn't go much more into it. I'm figuring, okay, I'll work with it when it comes up in me and it's active. I'll be clearing, And then lo and behold, I go to hold an event, a meditation event, um, in my local city, about 30-minute drive. And they're the freaking guys again, at this mall. And I'm being, oh no, we were heading to the beach. Yeah, that was this time. We were heading to the beach with my kids and Mary. We were heading to the beach. And there this guy is again. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. So I breathe through it. Mary asks me, are you okay to drive? I'm like, yeah, just give me a minute and let me put on some funky Afro house. We can and we drive to the beach and um, have a beautiful day at one of my beaches from childhood, from my childhood town growing up. So I get to revisit a lot of these childhood things and just create new memories and bring some goodness to where there's a little bit of light to where there still might be some darkness in corners of my mind and experiences and memories. So we have a beautiful day and go back home. Um, I let it go again. Didn't think much of it. Okay, what can I do? Really? You know, should I go there? Should I go to this shed? And should I go back to the house? What can I do? How far, how deep do I need to go to heal this stuff? What can I do? What I got to do? Show me. And lo and behold, I'm out walking right by my house one day, like right down the street. We're going into the woodland trail, like a little forest road right down here behind the gate. And I see somebody coming out with a walker, and um, I'm thinking these old people, they're gonna come this way. Let's see, one of them is a little bit younger, and so they walk in the direction of my house. They probably walked up to my mailbox, and they're coming back again. And as we're walking away from the gate, past their car, a little bit further up the road, there this guy comes on a walker. His brother, who is also incarcerated in the same facility for the same crimes. He was probably, you know, um, 50 kids. He got a little bit of leniency from the sheriff. The sheriff had a stern talking to with him. You got to stop fiddling with these little girls and boys and whatnot. And you got to get it together, man. A little slap on the wrist and, go out of the car again. It's a retard. What can you do? You know, they're both retards, and I'm allowed to say that. Mentally challenged doesn't really do it when you're molesting a whole bunch of kids. And so, you know, um, say out loud as we're walking past, "Hey, Mary, that's the brother of the guy that molested me. He's in for molesting 50 kids himself. You better keep walking." I just could not contain myself. That day, I had had enough. By my house? Don't come around here no more. By my house. But that was not enough. Lo and behold, a few days go by, we get in our car, and we drive the other way from where this other guy was met, And here he comes on his tricycle. God damn. Part of me wanted to just bump into him a little, just a little. But I'm about to be a therapist now, and I'm not about to do time for some pedophile retard. No, sorry, Bob. So, God, I wanted to honk my horn a little too, just to see him fly off into the woods, something. But I gathered myself. I didn't. I didn't do it. I wanted to so bad. So bad I wanted to. And so I tell Mary, all right, Mary, we got to drop off the oldest one at his grandma and go to this place. I need to see this house. I need to stand there and be there and see what comes from my body, and so I can, you know, get deeper with this stuff. It's been showing up in my face now and now they're on my doorstep. They're on my doorstep. And they're just basically, you know, here's a chance for you to heal this, Ulf. So we go there. We ride up there with a little bit of Afro House, you know, on the stereo, just to keep the mood like. And so we get there, and I'm standing outside there. I'm like, should I ring the doorbell? Just gonna ask them if this shed is still here. If I can go to this shed. See, experienced something in my life, and I just want to see if it's still there. I wasn't going to tell them I was molested in there, but, you know, I was molested in their house too. But I wasn't going to say that either. I was going to be kind to these folks that lived in that house with that energy. And not, share too much. They don't need that. But I wanted to ask their permission before I went past their house up into the woods. But nobody came. But as I'm kind of standing there, and I just remember the smell of that house, of this family chain smoking cigarettes, and my mom chain smoking cigarettes because she was dating the brother. Who was weird. He was a special character himself, but he was not, held back in any type of way. But he was strange. Still strange. But they were smoking like they had the devil on their backs. And there was just this thick fog in the living room. So nasty, so horrible that you, as a kid, you couldn't stay in that environment. You'd have to have a machete to like cut your way through the living room. The cigarette smoke was that thick. So thick that I can smell it now if I think about it. And so the only place he really could be was in the second floor with these two brothers. One of them sitting in his room listening to fucking Smurfs, and he was probably like 30. You know, that kind of mentally challenged, listening to the Smurfs. And then there was this other guy who was slightly less retarded. Uh, Less retarded enough to ride a motorbike. This other guy, he was like not there to be able to ride no motorbike. But, you know, the oldest one was called Sun and Moon because he was always walking, looking up. And the other one was called Stone and Gravel because he was always looking down on the ground. And so I sat down with Stone and Gravel and watched some cartoons. And he would cuddle me and fondle me and, you know, tickle my dinky and all kinds of funny business. Um, Usually just cuddle me asleep, and then I wake up with some, what your hand doing on my peepee, man? Yeah. And I was 9, 10, and 11 when this was going on. The next year, I started drinking alcohol on the weekends at 12. I didn't really remember much until I had a psilocybin experience at 19, when very vivid images came back to my memory during a pretty rough ride. So psilocybin at 19 brought back my memories of this. And I had a mental, emotional, and nervous breakdown and just smashed my room with a hockey stick. And then I went downstairs and I gave my mom a volcanic eruption. And for years, I blamed my mom and my dad for not taking care of me, for not protecting me, for needing love and attention from the opposite sex, so much so that they failed to see what was truly going on. And yeah, so that's what's been going on in my life. I hear Chiron, the wounded healer planet, is in my chart, and that's supposed to have something to do with it. So I don't ever know what I did to that celestial object, but you know, I'm ready to be your homie now, dude. All right, let's do this thing. So I didn't find the shed. I didn't get to do all that, but I went back to the house. And I stood there and I felt everything coming through my body. And I realized I'm still a little bit angry at my parents. My dad is dead. My mom's still here, and God bless her. I only wish well for her and upon her, you know. But a sensation is a sensation, a feeling is a feeling, an emotion is an emotion. And it's not really something that you can control. So sometimes I still wake up with that anger. Sometimes I still wake up, with that having to work through it. Sometimes for 15 minutes, sometimes 30, sometimes an hour. But I'm doing it. I used to be waking and baking to make that shit go away. I used to be popping pills, and make that shit go away. I used to do drugs, drink, and try to party, making that shit go away. And drugs and alcohol and things don't really work for that. It numbs your body so you don't feel it. May numb your thinking a little bit or make you able to creatively adapt to your reality in such a way that you can um, put it in a box and not open the box. But ever so often, that's going to be a jack in the box. And then if we don't deal with it, if we don't heal it, if we don't purify the vessel, the unified field. And so I can clearly see how working with this trauma is doing something to my unified field and my union. Healing the connection again, bringing us to a deeper connection and a higher frequency, making room in my vessel for more light as I, handle it differently and I'm being with it differently. It feels good to share with you guys. It would feel inauthentic not to share it with you guys because this is what's going on. And this is part of the journey, and I know I'm not alone in having deep trauma. Everyone who comes to me and who works with me are attracted to working with me because we share, similarities in trauma, similarities in consciousness, similarities in vibration and frequency and perception of reality and all of that, so this has value And a part of me wanted to share the beginning of this journey with you guys because I still want to go to that shed. I still want to go to that shed and hopefully have even more memories just smack me over the head so I can fully allow myself to fall to my knees, weep, and more than anything, pick up my soul fragment. Pick up whatever part of me is left in that shed. Because it didn't work fully to go to the house. I mean, there was a little bit of a trigger, a little bit of a activation, but not what I was hoping for. Because I want that to be so active in my body that I have to surrender to it, be with it, and finally, once and for all, clear so I can, move on, move up, leave it. But then again, is this one of those traumas that I have to carry for the rest of my life? You know, and I may never find true healing from it. Um, and am I willing to accept that? Am I willing to be with that? And now I can feel, as I said that, there's something in my body. Yeah, this is good. So I can use some of the GESTALT right now, right here, right with you. So I'm feeling a tightness in my throat. It's a little bit hard to breathe all the way down in the belly. Feel like a heaviness in my chest, like a hand kind of pushing on my chest. Tingling in my fingers. Yeah, I'm just gonna breathe deep. All the way down, all that top. Yeah. And that helps with the breathing. See if we can open this throat chakra. Yeah. I'm getting pictures of myself at that age. I have this cut. It's kind of like um, 1989. Um, Not a mullet, but you know, like a little kid who's listening to Kiss and Wasp and Black Sabbath and you know. I'm wearing a pink shirt that my mom got me at one of the festivals that she was attending with the non-retarded brother. I have one of these uh, leather bracelets with uh, like nails that I used to put around my knuckles, and if anyone was stupid enough to fight me, because I was angry at that age, you know, I had to switch classes a few times, switch schools. I switched to the last school, the final school, but that final school I had to switch classes because there was another alpha male there, but I was more alpha than him. So I took him out. And then I had to switch classes. Yeah. I just remember that boy changing. He lost everything during those years. You know, my grandpa died of cancer, and my mom and dad got divorced. I had to put up with this shit. And I like boobies. I still like boobies today. So he tricked me with the boobies. You want to go look at some boobies in my shed? Hey, you boobies, you say? Hell, you come talking to me about boobies now. I'd listen. So that's how he got me. You know, first grooming me and you know with this cartoons and stuff and building trust with my mom and my sister was 2.5, 3.5, 4, and he was babysitting her. So there's more to the story to be told, but it's not my story to tell. But protect your kids. Talk to them about their private areas. Talk to them. And nobody's allowed to touch your dinky. Nobody's allowed to touch your special area, your private parts. If they try to do that, we'll have to get the police. And don't ever be afraid to come tell daddy. You know, someone's being weird, someone's talking to you about grown up stuff. Daddy will never, ever, ever be angry if you come and tell me that somebody's been trying to touch your dinky or talking about dinkies or being funny and weird. Always come tell daddy. And that's how they get you, you know. They go for broken up families. A house without a man and without a father is a weak house. If you are a father and you're not in that house, you got to make sure to make your presence known and that you're a dangerous motherfucker who will not allow his kids to be prey to pedophiles, and that you'll be capable of great violent acts if such should occur. And let it be known that you are one capable mother plucker to do such things. You know, because there are some bad people in this world, and they may come clothed in retarded presence. They may come clothed in holier than thou presence. They may come clothed in innocent presence. They might be older kids that could be potential predators for your younger kids. So, this is something that you have to prepare your kids for in this hypersexualized world and society that we live in. You know, it's not okay for anyone to touch your private area. None of your friends, no aunties, uncles, none of that. Only mommy and daddy are allowed to touch your private area when we wash you or when we are looking for ticks or, you know, never to make you feel funny, never to make it tingle, never to make it, you know, however you need to explain it to them that this is not okay, that this is not something that anyone is allowed to do with them or on their genital area. You know, and teach boundaries like a mother and like a father. Like, teach boundaries like, you know, if you don't want to hug and kiss that uncle, that's okay. If you don't want to hug and kiss that auntie, that's okay. You know, don't force, give a hug. She gave you that nice big truck. Go give a hug. Never do that. Allow them to feel people out and take it in their own time. Let them learn to trust their intuition and help them to trust themselves. And be vigilant. It's better to be skeptical and a little bit cynical than to be naive and allow such a trauma to occur that they may never ever recover from. I am almost 50 years old and I am still confronted with this trauma. I am still confronted with this to deal with, to sit with, to be in, and it affects me still to this day, no matter how much healing, therapy, or whatever I do. It's still there, like a shrinking shadow in my life, but still, it's still there. And can I be okay with maybe holding that trauma and carrying that trauma for the rest of my life? Yes, nothing's gonna stop me from fucking enjoying my life. Nothing's gonna keep me from being sober. I will not let the bullies in my life win. I will not let the abusers in my life win and take any more power from me. I will not let the shadows in my life steal my light in any kind of way anymore. And that is my decree. And I hope that's your decree too. Whatever it is that you're carrying, whatever it is that you're holding, it's like a burning coal. You can put it down and you can pick it back up and carry it until you can carry it no more. And you pick it back up and you keep walking. You keep walking. Don't let anything keep you from the light of your life. No more. Big words from a big man, Jeff. I love and appreciate you. I love and appreciate you all, my brothers and sisters of this global awakening community that we belong to. And for those of you who are supporters of the White Wolf tribe, of White Wolf Alchemy, I'm grateful for walking with you all these years. And we're going to keep walking. We're going to keep trucking. And see what gold we can find in this process of alchemy, right? So, yeah, the sun's going down here out my window, shining in on my face. It's been one of those summers with vast amounts of light and darkness and just balancing in the middle of these two. And yeah, keeping walking. Stay safe out there, guys. The world is full of freaks, absolutely. The world is full of freaks and monsters and bad people, but it's also full of good people. I've learned that in my travels. I've learned that in this community. And keep your eyes on the prize. Keep moving. Keep moving. Thank you guys for watching. I just wanted to share this with you all so that you kind of get a feel of what's going on planetary. Chiron is traversing through a lot of our old wounds, and so it will be coming up for us to look at again and re-examine and heal a little bit deeper than we did last round. So if you're dealing and healing and feeling it, it gets easier a little bit each time. If we're self-medicating or any type of addiction to manage, then we're not healing it as deeply as we could, and it's going to come back around in the same force usually, or even stronger, and until we do sit down sober or without coping mechanisms, and instead accept the challenge of existence and create a strategy and healing agenda, and using the warrior spirit and our intent to facilitate healing. Yeah. Bless you guys. Stay good. See you soon. Peace.